Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm bringing you guys Week 8 start or sit decisions for fantasy football in 2020. We are going to be discussing every single matchup from this week, from Thursday all the way until Monday night, and talk about the quarterbacks that are starting in these matchups. So before I get into the video, I'd like to ask that if at any point inside of this you end up having a great time, you end up enjoying, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. And real quick, before we get into it, I'd like to give you guys a quick word from my friends and my sponsor over at drafters.com. The football draft that you had at the beginning of the season, except for it is a weekly draft. You draft for 1 week, you see head-to-head up against a couple of people that you're playing against, who scores more fantasy football points, and then you win the cash at the end of the week. There's a variety of entry fees. Some of these are just $1, others go up to $100+, so it's really what you want to make of it, how much money you want to spend on a weekly basis. And if you use code Notorious at checkout, you get a 50% deposit bonus up to $100 with a 10 times rollover on the bonus to withdraw. So make sure you guys go on there, get that free money, play and win. It is super simple. Make sure you guys check it out, drafters.com. When you go to deposit, use code Notorious at checkout. And we are back. Let's get into it. Week 8 quarterback start or sit decisions. We begin with tonight's matchup, Thursday Night Football, Falcons at the Carolina Panthers. Now, Matt Ryan has been icy hot, or not icy hot, that's impossible, ice cold, and then super hot fire. Either or. He hasn't really had any of those in the middle games. He's either dropping like 25 points or he's scoring you like 10 points. And the crazy part about it is it really has nothing to do with the matchup. He will have an amazing matchup, play like shit. Have a hard matchup, play good. Have an amazing matchup, play amazing. So you really have no idea what goes into the making of Matty Ice on a weekly basis for fantasy football. But here on Thursday night up against the Carolina Panthers, this is what I would dub as a good matchup for Matt Ryan. And while I said he's not necessarily going to perform when he has a good matchup, because they do run the ball a decent amount with Todd Gurley, and that really kind of lowers his point potential when they are running a lot with Todd Gurley, like we saw last week when Todd Gurley inevitably stumbled his way into the end zone. So I like Matt Ryan up against the Carolina Panthers this week, regardless of kind of how on and off he has been thus far this season. For the Panthers, I like Teddy Roosevelt, Teddy Two Gloves in this game. He's playing up against the worst defense in the NFL, and Teddy Bridgewater has played quite well thus far this season. He has really looked like a much better quarterback than I anticipated, very poised in the pocket, doesn't really make any mistakes in this game that would cost him to getting negative points for your fantasy football team by throwing interceptions, especially here up against the garbage-ass Atlanta Falcons. I expect a very big game out of both of these quarterbacks, Teddy Two Gloves and Matty Ice. Now to the Sunday slate of games. Now here it is the Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens, an NFC or an AFC North matchup. Now, I am going to be starting Lamar Jackson in this matchup, but I'm putting up a yield sign. You need to be fucking careful when you start Lamar Jackson up against a team that is actually good. If the Steelers get up early due to their defense being good and the offense humming up and down the field, then Lamar Jackson will be a certified piece of shit for your lineup, because Lamar Jackson does not play well when he's hitting it from behind. When he's doing it missionary, hitting it from the front, very slothfully. Actually, well, he goes hard in the fucking paint when he's up ahead. So when he's right in front of there, he's going hard, and he scores a bunch of points. When he's hitting it from the back, he's not going to be turning it around and making it clap, because he's going to be playing quite bad from behind. That's just for some reason how Lamar Jackson plays. When he's up by 1 million, he is just stacking on points, doing 1 million touchdown celebrations, but when he's from behind, he has no idea what is going on. So I will be starting Lamar Jackson here, but put up the caution, yield, and be careful. Start him at your own risk, even though I think he's going to be fine. Big Ben Roethlisberger going up against a tougher Ravens defense. While I think the Ravens, or while I say I think the Steelers could win this game, I think they're going to be running a decent amount with James Conner in this matchup, and I think Big Ben is all right in real life, but for fantasy football in this matchup, I do not like him. Next game here, we got the LA Rams at my Miami Dolphins, and in this one, I'm starting Jared Goff. Now, the thing with Jared Goff is you get one of 2 quarterbacks in every single time this man steps on the field, and it's consistent throughout the whole game. You're either going to get Jared Aaron Rodgers Goff, or you're going to get Jared Mark Sanchez Goff. Okay? He either plays like one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, and I'm not saying he's Aaron Rodgers or something, but I'm comparing him to either being really good or completely bad butt fumble season like Mark Sanchez. So with that said, I think we see a decent Jared Goff in this one. They have been running the ball a decent amount, though, in LA, which does kind of scare me in this matchup, going up against a pretty solid defense, in my opinion. As a Dolphins fan in the Miami Dolphins defense, I think Jared Goff gets it done, though, and is worthy of a start as like a top 13, 14-ish quarterback on the week. For the Dolphins, will be sitting down rookie quarterback Tua Tagovailoa in his first ever NFL game. As a Dolphins fan, I'm very excited to see this matchup. I think Tua could be a start for fantasy football in the future, but here up against Jalen Ramsey, up against Aaron Donald, while I think Tua is going to dick them down, that's what I hope at least, I would not definitely feel comfortable starting him in his first ever game up against such a tough defense in the Rams. Next game, we got the New York Football Jets at the Kansas City Chiefs. This game opened with the Chiefs as a 21-point favorite. The Chiefs are now down to 8+ or minus 18.5. I don't even know if I'd take that for the Jets because of how bad they are. With that said, this could be a case of what we saw with Josh Allen last week up against such a bad team for Patrick Mahomes, or what we saw for Patrick Mahomes last week up against a bad team in the Denver Broncos, where he didn't really have to sling the pigskin all over the yard. They just capably beat them with defense. They beat them with special teams. But I think we are going to be seeing a heavy dosage of this offense in this game because Le'Veon Bell wants to stick it to Adam Gase and fuck him sideways with rushing touchdowns or receiving touchdowns. I think Patrick Mahomes plays very well in this game as long as he's able to air it out up against one of the worst defenses in the NFL in the New York Football Jets. For the Jets, Sam Darnold is just not it this season, and it's not even his fault. It's frankly the offensive system that he's in. When Adam Gase was calling the plays, he looked atrocious. He doesn't look atrocious, but the play calls just set Sam Darnold up for failure. He's going into the game knowing he has one of the biggest dumbasses calling his plays. I've made this joke before, but Adam Gase makes these routes. He goes, Jamison Crowder, why don't you go run this route? You're going to go up, you're going to go left, and then you're going to make a stop right there because there's a stop sign. You got to wait, and then you got to go right. You want to know why there's a stop sign? Because he's using his Coke dealer's fucking route when he goes from his house to his Coke dealer's house as a route for Jamison Crowder because this guy is so dumb. But they ended up he relieved himself of those duties. And now the Jets offense looks a bit better, but I don't expect them to really do anything here up against the Chiefs, which would make Sam Darnold, kids see ghost Sam Darnold, Mono Man Sam, a sit in this one. Next game here, we got the Vikings at the Green Bay Packers, and this one I think is going to be interesting. We saw this game earlier in the season, and the Green Bay Packers stepped on the gas and did not let up all game. Aaron Rodgers was doing the discount double check all game long, and I like him again this week in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers only had one down game thus far this season. That was up against Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, and here up against a defense that is very young and is the word I was trying to say is poised to be good in the future due to the fact that they're so young, not so great now. Up against Aaron Rodgers, not the greatest matchup for them, especially since Devontae Adams was dropping deuces on the chest of teams last week. For Kirk Cousins, you like that? I like him in this matchup. He didn't play all that well the first time these two teams played, but I think we see a different Kirk Cousins now. Kirk Cousins has looked very consistent thus far this season with the addition of Justin Jefferson to this offense. Obviously, losing Stephon Diggs was kind of a big hit, but Justin Jefferson has filled that hole very nicely, filling holes. So Kirk Cousins, he likes that, and he's looking pretty good, so I like him in this one. Not as like a top 10 option, but definitely a very safe quarterback one or high-end quarterback number 2. For this week, next game here, we got the Indianapolis Colts at the Detroit Lions. Now, in this one, I like Matty Snapback. Now, Matthew Stafford has kind of been stuck in a situation that you have never seen before, where Matt Stafford doesn't actually have to throw the ball 7 million times. Well, he's throwing the ball 7 million times, but the running backs are actually scoring. DeAndre Swift has looked very competent thus far this season. I don't love Stafford this week due to the matchup up against the Indianapolis Colts defense that has been pretty tough thus far this season when healthy, but I still think Matthew Stafford is good enough to sling the ball all over the yard and be worthy of a start for the Colts. Phillip Rivers is one of the funniest fucking quarterbacks to ever watch in the NFL. Phillip Rivers, that motherfucker, is the opposite. Well, he's definitely a motherfucker because the guy has like 12 goddamn kids. But with that said, Phillip Rivers in the first 3 quarters of the game, he's the opposite of Jared Goff or one of those quarterbacks or Nick Foles that is very streaky. He is where he's streaky for the whole game. He's really good in this game, then he's going to be really good in the next game. Phillip Rivers, for the first 3 quarters, looks like Hall of Fame Phillip Rivers. You can just see him putting that jacket on, getting inducted in the Hall of Fame, seeing his bust right there after he busted in his wife to have another kid. So Phillip Rivers, in the first 3 quarters, just looks amazing. Man, you freak. And then in the final quarter of the game, this motherfucker is doing his best Lana Rhodes impression and choking on some hog later in the game because he cannot win a game when he's up. He swings. He has these mood swangs like he's Pop Smoke. That's from a song that he sings, or raps, I guess. But Phillip Rivers, he's no bueno in the end of the game, and I just don't feel ultra confident in him since I feel like they could really run a lot up against the Detroit Lions. I almost said the Nittany Lions because I'm getting a bit excited for college football on Sunday, or on Saturday, I should say. Next game here, we got the Las Vegas Raiders at the Cleveland Browns. Call me crazy, but I think Derek Carr might have a good game here. Derek Carr has been playing very well thus far this season in fantasy football, and this matchup may end up being very high scoring. Now, the reason why I'm not starting Baker Mayfield in this one is because I think that 5-touchdown game kind of an anomaly last week, but I think they're going to really try to use the Kevin Stefanski system, which is very, very run-heavy, and try to run a train through the Las Vegas Raiders after they lost Odell Beckham Jr. The reason why they were throwing so much in that game is because they were kind of behind last week, and it was really close. Not that they were behind, but it was really close the whole game, whereas potentially here the Browns could blow out the Raiders. And that's a crazy thing to fucking say, but I think Derek Carr's going to play good in this one. Even if it's from behind, I feel like he's going to be scoring a decent amount of points. Baker Mayfield's close to being a start, but I want to see a full game of him without Odell Beckham Jr., even though he looked so much better after Odell Beckham Jr. sadly tore his ACL in this one. Next game here, we got the Les Titans at the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, if you guys have ended up enjoying this video thus far, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I'm putting out this content every single day to help you guys win and eat that W to win that fantasy football championship this year in 2020. Next game, again, the Titans at the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a beautiful quarterback matchup for this week for fantasy football. The Bengals have contended in pretty much every single game, aside from a couple of weeks in the season. I think it was week 2 up against the Baltimore Ravens. They just got their shit smacked in. They went in the ring up against Floyd Mayweather, and they were a 7-year-old kid pretty much is what occurred there. So it was an absolute beatdown by Lamar Jackson and friends. But I think the Cincinnati Bengals here, they've been buzzing. They've been covering spreads. They've been keeping the games close. And here up against the Les Titans, who don't have the greatest defense, I think we can see a shootout in Cincinnati this week. Ryan Tannehill has looked straight up amazing every single week. This guy, while you would dub him as kind of the player who's just a game manager, right? He doesn't make the mistakes, which he doesn't, but he also makes plays like some of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. And the aroma around him is, I don't even know if that's the correct word, the smell around him, is that Derrick Henry is kind of carrying this team. When in reality, Derrick Henry does do his part in carrying the team, but Ryan Tannehill also has the team on his back because he works very well in this offense. And I expect A.J. Brown to go absolutely crazy in this one, and I like Ryan Tannehill up against the Cincinnati Bengals for Joe Burrow. Smoking Joe, Big Dick Joe. I like him in this matchup. Joe Burrow has played very well thus far this season from behind, especially, unlike the compadre as well from the AFC North named Lamar Jackson. I think Joe Burrow is going to play very good in this one. A back-and-forth affair here from both teams, especially since the Bengals wide receiver core has been hitting its stride. Even A.J. Green, the dumb motherfucker who always ends up in the blue injury tent, has stayed healthy and has been playing very well for the last 2 games. Next game here, we got I almost said the Tennessee Titans again. We got the New England Deflatriots at the Buffalo Bills. Now, Josh Allen's kind of trajectory this season has been so confusing. The beginning, it was going up the roller coaster. Choo-choo! You're flying up the roller coaster, right? And then that shit did a complete and utter decline straight into the ground, and the tracks didn't end, at this nice slow stop at the end. It ends by fucking brutally murdering everyone that was waiting online for this thing, because he has not played very good at all the last 3 weeks. Now, up against the New York Football Jets, you can almost excuse it for Josh Allen. Why? Because there was no doubt they were going to lose this game. They just weren't converting in the red zone for some reason, but they know for a fact they're going to have to convert up against the New England Patriots if they want to win this game. Even if Cam Newton looks certifiably washed up and looks like a dumpster fire, that whole organization, the whole team looks like a dumpster fire right now without Tampa Bay Tom Brady, but I still think Josh Allen knows to put the pedal to the goddamn metal up against the New England Patriots, and I see a humongous bounce back game for Joshy boy this week. For Cam Newton, boy was I wrong for him last week. Last week, in no way did I expect not Josh Allen, I didn't expect Bill fucking Belichick, Uncle Bill, to lose a game after they lost a game the week before. I thought Cam Newton was going to come up there with a match lit under his ass, and he would be ready to roll. But Cam Newton did not look like that. He looked as deflated as a football up against the Indianapolis Colts in New England. So, I don't know. I could see a huge bounce back from Cam, but maybe the Rona, this is not even a joke, could have severely impacted Cam Newton's health or his ability or something, because this motherfucker, he can't even read a children's book back there. Normally, Cam Newton looks pretty alright at throwing the ball, right? He could read the defense, but now Dr. Seuss is over there, can't even make out the words to that. Red fish, green fish, blue fish, something like that. He has no idea what that means. No idea. The only fucking cat in the hat is him, because he's a pussy in his hat. I'm just kidding. That was a funny joke that I thought would be funny. Probably not. But if you guys saw his attire before that game last week, he came in there looking like he was about to crack the finest case in Great Britain back in the day or something. He was wearing his finest hat, and he looked like a dumbass out there. So with that said, Cam Newton, I expect to bounce back, but I'm not willing to start him because he has disappointed me one too many times. Next game here, we got the Los Angeles Chargers at the Broncos. The battle of Horsecock Herbert and Horsecock Drew goddamn Lock. The cock fight of the week. Chargers at the Broncos. I like Justin Herbert, the pervert, a.k.a. Horsecock Justin Herbert, or Horsecock Herbert, in this matchup. Justin Herbert has been nothing but the definition of excellence thus far this season. That doctor that accidentally stabbed Tyrod Taylor needs a fucking raise. He doesn't need to be fired. He needs a raise because they found not even a diamond in the rough, because he was a top 6 pick, right? But he was a guy that was severely hated on in the offseason, including myself, because everything I read, everything I watched showed me that this is not a pro-style quarterback, which was fake fucking news, because this guy is amazing. Justin Herbert's going to go up against Denver, and his special teams won't do some crazy shit like Pat Mahomes did last week, and Justin Herbert's going to go to pound town on that Denver ass. And Horsecock Drew Lock, I'm not sold out on him, okay? I'm very bought in on him, or I was before the season. Now I'm kind of mild on him. He's gotten hurt. He came back from injury. I didn't expect him to do anything up against the Chiefs. He really didn't. So you can't really knock him in that fashion. I don't know what the Broncos are going to do at the end of the season, especially if they end up with a higher pick, but Drew Lock is definitely not a start in this one up against the LA Chargers defense. Next game here, we got the 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks, and in this one, I'm for sure firing up Russell Wilson. This one was a no-brainer. Anyone with a fucking skull and a brain inside of there that's intact can figure out to start Russell Wilson. It doesn't take a Jimmy Neutron-esque brain to realize that you need to start Russell Wilson, because this guy's looking like the MVP of the league. Oh, Nick, you know we lost last week to that short fuck Kyler Murray, Mr. 5'6". I know. But that's on the defense. And the 49ers are very good at running. The Seattle Seahawks defense couldn't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. They can't stop anything. So they're going to be able to push them into this game. The Niners are going to be able to push into this one, and Russell Wilson's going to have to push them back and put up yet another great game for fantasy football this week. Jimmy G, on the other hand, I think could have a solid game, but that wide receiver core with Debo out kind of decimated. So I think Ayuk will have a good game, but I don't think that necessarily means Jimmy Garoppolo will put up all that big of a score. So if there was a game to start Jimmy G, though, it would be this one up against Seattle, but I'm just not all that bought in on Jimmy G, even though he's definitely proved me wrong this year and has looked very, very good. Next game here, we got the Saints at the Bears. Big Dick Nick Foles versus Drew Brees, and I don't like either of them in this matchup. I don't think this one's going to be a very high-scoring game, especially with Michael Thomas likely not playing, Emmanuel Sanders likely not playing. This one's going to be a battle of the Bears defense versus Alvin Kamara, and nothing is going to happen in this one that's going to make it interesting at all. So when I feel like a game's not going to be interesting, I feel like the quarterback play here has been kind of so-so with each of these guys. I don't want anything to do with 9-inch Nick Foles in this one, or Drew Brees. Next game here, we got the Cowboys at the Eagles, the Sunday Night Football matchup for this week, and what a way to end your Sunday by watching some bullshit NFC East matchup. Carson Wentz, though, has looked magnifique, fantastique the last couple of weeks for fantasy football, and up against one of the worst defenses in the NFL, up against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sure Stevie Wonder could be in the pocket and throw dimes up against the Dallas Cowboys defense, because they can't cover anything. So you got to play Wentz in this matchup. For the sit, it might be the Ginger Ninja Andy Dalton. Now, I don't know how Andy Dalton remotely even allows himself to step in the pocket after the team, the Redskins, or the Washington football team, I should say, sorry, fucking smacked his shit in, a legal hit, and the offensive line did not stand up for him. I don't know how he would want to go back there after they did not stand up for him at all. So with that said, he may not be able to clear the concussion protocol, and in that case, Ben Gucci Danucci, is going to come into the pocket and cook it up like a nice pizza pie. Chef Boyardee in the pocket, Ben DiNucci. Not going to be a start at all, but a very funny guy. I hope he succeeds, though. Ben Danucci. Final game, Monday Night Football between Tampa Bay Tom Brady up against the New York Football Giants in New York. Now, if we know the score, Tom Brady not very good up against the Giants in big games. But this game, not very big at all. Tom Brady is going to stomp out the Giants defense. It's not even going to be close. This is going to be an easy game. Tom Brady could close his eyes and dice up this defense. So I like Tom Brady in this one. Coming off of a 5-touchdown game last week, 4 passing and 1 rushing. And Danny Dimes, not going to look very well up against a pretty tough Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. So thank you guys all for watching this video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Also, make sure you guys check out the sponsor that I talked about earlier, drafters.com. So make sure you guys have a great rest of your guys' day. I love you all. Link down below in the description for that. And I'll see you beautiful bastards later with another banger of a video. Goodbye.